You see, back in the day, Albert King and Jimmy got together. Albert taught Jimmy. He taught him that Albert King was always in the key of F. Now, when you think about the key of F, look at the circle of fifths. C is right at the top. C stands for church music, like the gospel starts at C. If you think about Keith Richards tunes his guitar to G, open G chord. Well, in the circle of fifths, there's C, then G is going, hang on, I've got to do it for you, got to go your way. So clockwise for you is that way, I think. C, G. But what Albert did, he went the other way, he went F. Because now he's going down the cycle of fourths. People call it the circle of fourths. So they only look at it in a flat dimension, 2 dimensions. But if you actually know that the circle of fifths is a spiral staircase, when you're going clockwise, you're going up, ascension, they call that. You ascend up in 5 steps at a time. Each time you go up 5 steps, you get given a key. That key unlocks a door, and then you can do another 5 steps. And you gradually do a circular, it's a helix. A spiral, I mean, the helix is when you put the second one in. Now going the other way, when you start at C, C's the start point, you get no sharps, no flats, you just start at C. This, maybe it's misleading to say that a lot of the church stuff was written in C and say that consciousness starts at C. I'm not really sure why C is a reference. In the old days it wasn't, it was A, but for some reason 300 years ago something happened, it became equal temperament, became the thing. Piano started to rule the roost. Prior to that, no one had really ruled the orchestra. The keys were free for everyone, and everyone played. And they'll tell you that there were all these sort of problems. The math didn't work out, this didn't work out. Yet when you listen to John Dowling, which is from, I think, the 15th century, it's far more sophisticated than anything that came, Yeah, I love fucking Bach and I love Mozart and all this stuff. It's all great. I actually like Strauss. I like the waltzes. 3-time. Anyway, I'm getting off course again. I'm meant to be telling you about the Hendrix tuning and how it affected heavy metal. And that's really the starting point. And so I can go back and fill in, like Albert King talked to Jimmy. Jimmy didn't want to go the way that Albert wanted him to continue down the cycle of fourths, and Jimmy didn't want to do that. Jimmy said, look, we're both black men, and if we keep playing this music and going down, playing minor pentatonics everywhere, and just playing the blues, everyone's going to he said, I don't want to do that. I'd rather unite people. He said, like Little Richard was playing in all the different keys. Little Richard was uniting both black and white people with his music, and Jimmy liked that, and Jimmy wanted some of that. So Jimmy decided, he spoke to Albert and he said, Albert, I've made a decision. I'm going to use the blues, but he said it's not going to be my main thing. Jimmy wanted to do all this. So as soon as you put the major third in the bass, you start to get this other sound. It's like it's a major sound. Jimmy went major, but here's the thing people don't realise. He didn't do C major, he did C harmonic major. He said to Albert, he said, there's one note difference, Albert. He said, I play the major scale, but I play a flat 6 with it. He said, it's the saddest note of all. If you're playing a major and you hit the flat 6, you can just break people's hearts instantly. And he said, the other thing is, there's a couple of other things come into play. He said, it's the only scale where you've got both your diminished, full diminished, not half diminished. Like in the major scale, you've only got half diminished. In the harmonic major, you get a full diminished and a full augmented. So you've got augmented, you've got major, minor, major, augmented and diminished, or it should be the right order, I should guess. If you want to go from flattest to brightest, it would be diminished, minor, major, augmented. Coming the other way, obviously augmented, major, minor, and then diminished. Now people, that's the other thing they sold us on, this whole thing about the major. Everything's, major's happy. No, it's not. Play a major and hit a flat 6. Tell me how fucking happy that is. It's what Paul McCartney does all the time. Beatles were doing it all the time. Harmonic major, do it in C major. You sound like you're like everyone else, then hit that flat 6. The other thing is, Hendrix knew that on the 3rd degree, he said, Albert, on the 3rd degree of that scale, do you know what's there? Albert said, it's a Phrygian, it's always a Phrygian on it. He said, yes, it's a Phrygian scale, but This one's special. It's a Phrygian with a flat 4. It sounds like this. There's a root, a flat 4, a flat 7 and a flat 3. That's in the chord that I play. They call that the Hendrix chord. They've named it after me because I use it everywhere. I'm trying to sell everyone on the Hendrix chord. And I've pretty much done it. He said, but there's another thing. And Albert said to him, he said, well, I'm going to tell you the tuning that you need for that. And Jimmy said, come on then, tell me, I'm waiting for it. And he said, all you do, wherever you are, if it's a standard tuning, meaning everything's in fourths, E, A, D, G, that's all fourths. Then it changes on the G to B, that's a major third. Everyone knows that, it's fine, don't get caught out by that. B to E is a fourth again, so it's all fourths except for one major third. Would you know what you do? Jimmy said, no, what do I do? He said, lower the E strings. He said, by how much? He said, what do you favour? He said, where do you like to be? And Jimmy said, I love E flat. I love the key of E flat. I can sing in it. He said, I can play with all the horn players. They love B flat. It's where bebop and all the horn players play in flats. Horn players love B flat. They love E flat. They love A flat. He said, if I do E flat, I'm in between B and I can get a 12 bar out. So he said, well, tune it down to E flat. So these went down. Now I don't even know where this is. See, this in the middle here. That's your normal Hendrix chord, playing it in E. If you play it semitone low, and you lower the outer 2 strings, then that's where you get that sound. Now, why this is interesting is that this went on to become, Hendrix taught this to Tony Iommi. The reason being, you've got to always pass it on. Albert King had to pass it on to Jimmy, but what you have to do, it has to go on to a younger generation, and you have to give them a bit more knowledge than you've got. Albert King didn't ever do this tuning, not that I know of, he might have done, but he favoured the key of F. He played, like F, but like they call it slack tuning, because it comes from Hawaii. In Hawaii, they tuned that Hawaiian music, they tuned all the notes to a chord, and it became like a thing synonymous with the blues. And every blues player back in the day had to have their own tuning. And they were all secretive about it. Albert King was really secretive about his. And that's why when he sent his guitars for repair, Hendrix would often change his strings. So were Albert King. They put different strings on if someone else was going to pick up the guitar. So no one else, whenever anyone else picked up Hendrix's guitar, they go, oh, Jimmy, these strings are strange. And he goes, yeah, it's a 10 thou first. Then I think it was a 12, a 15. 15 was really light. Then it was a 26, so the D string was super heavy on Hendrix's guitar. Then the A string, I think, was 36 thou, and I think the last one might have been 38. But ideally, this is the ideal set. Everything should be multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, like Tessa said. And what Jimmy actually played was a 12 thou first. Remember Stevie Ray Vaughan, 13? Stevie went too far. 12, 1 and 2 is 3. 12 thou first, 12 thou second. 15 thou, 1 and 5 is 6. 15 thou on your 3rd string. It's really wangy. You can do everything. See, everyone's worried about bending that E string, but you've got to work it in. That's what the sound of the blues is working. I don't want to go too high because I can break these. I can break 12s, no problem at all. Doesn't hurt your fingers. But you get this lovely, it's powerful. The high E needs to be, see, people always work from the low E string. They use that as a reference point. The high E string it's the same thing, but you can work from the high to low. Anyway, I'm giving away all the secrets here. But someone's got to tell people because they've lost their way. So 12 thou first, 12 thou second, the B string, you can bend that to fucking... That can go on forever. I can, anyway, whatever. The G string, same thing. Should have been there. I thought I was playing an E. but I'm really... See, when you got that, that's the other thing, when you got a low E like that, you can hear where Iommi was going. Yeah, that was the key thing. Jimmy couldn't tell it to Jeff Beck, and the reason was, Jeff was the same age as, he was the same era, same generation. Jimmy and Jeff both knew they were going to get it. Jimmy thought he was going to be immortal. He'd made the deal. He's going to live forever. And when his manager was murdering him, Jimmy cried out. He said, it's like they were force feeding him alcohol, red wine and barbiturates. They were trying to kill Jimmy. His manager had a contract out, an insurance policy that if Jimmy died under strange circumstances, he would get £2 million. It was pounds. He was an Englishman. He was an ex-mercenary apparently. And this is a tactic they used to do, is they used to kill people by force feeding them alcohol and barbiturates. Anyway, Jimmy was a quarter Cherokee. He couldn't drink. Jimmy, he drank a little bit, but seldom drank. He'd get drunk very quickly, a bit like myself. So when Jimmy was being murdered, he said, no, I've made a deal. I've got to live forever. And his manager said, Jimmy, by killing you, you will become immortal. Your music will live on forever. Now you're going to die. And he killed him. He got the $2 million. He fucked off. See, in those days, in England, if you got $2 million and you were a gangster, you went to Spain or somewhere, Ibiza or somewhere like that. And, you know, it's a bit like Sexy Beast. You just live it up on the beach, you know, and you just have a good old time. That's it. That's your life done. You got 20 million. It would have been, it was 2 million then, but that was in 1970, I think, Hendrix died. That's about 20 million equivalent today. Anyway, so Jimmy got killed, but he'd already passed on the information and he'd chosen someone. And here's the thing. You haven't put it together yet, but Albert King, left-handed. Jimi Hendrix, left-handed. It has to go on to a left-handed player. Jimmy wanted to give it over to Paul McCartney. Paul was left-handed. He was geared up for it. Everything. Paul knew about the harmonic major, but Jimmy didn't want to take Paul off track with that. He knew that whoever he gave this to was going to come up with a new genre of music. The other thing is he wanted to make it fly under the radar. So he found this guy. You know him. He created heavy metal music. He forged heavy metal music from what Jimmy taught him. Now check this out. Tony Iommi went into the studio and, like everyone in those days, wanted to be Hendrix. He had a left-handed Strat. He had a Strat that was right-handed upside down like Jimmy, probably, I don't know. But he had a Strat. Tony Iommi was playing a Strat, and yet suddenly, on the day of recording, mysterious things happen. Some people say that there's a God and God works in mysterious ways. I don't buy into that. I buy into dogs and, you know, dog gods and all that stuff. See, that's going to confuse you. Edit that bit out because that's going to be a bit weird. Now, so anyway, mysterious ways. So all of a sudden, he's been playing the Strat. He's got the Strat down. He thinks this is it. It fucks up on the day of the recording. What's he do? SG. What does the SG look like? It's the fucking right guitar for the job. It's a shorter scale length. If Tony Iommi had borrowed Brian May's guitar, Excalibur, which is the Red Special, and he'd gone on to 24-inch scale length with heavy metal riffs like he was doing, well, he already became famous, but overnight he would have ruled the roost. But that was the thing. Jimmy said to him, don't be too cocky, don't stand out, don't be Flash. He said, I've been Flash, and the writing's on the wall for me. I'm a target now. Jimmy knew he was a target. He kind of like, although he'd made the deal, he knew that he was a target. He said, don't be too Flash. Just go under the radar, get